And we can start the party. NASDAQ not looking good, huh? Oddly enough, the Russell is up 1.5% and the NASDAQ is down 1.3%. That's pretty weird. I'd say the Russell is probably, well, the Russell was laying around like a dead fish for a very long time. So it's hard to say who's right and who's wrong right now. They could both be right. The NASDAQ went up too much and the Russell went down too much or whatever. Anywho, all right, so on to that. There's no particular news and nothing definitive driving it. The NASDAQ was clearly overbought. I talked about that the other day. The Russell is not overbought, so it deserves to be up a little bit. The dollar at the moment is popping, so that's putting more pressure on the down slope. It was way down today, but earlier today, the dollar was leading. See, this is 950, right? See where you top out, 930, 950, same thing. So the dollar bottoms, the market tops. That's essentially the only reason the markets are up. As soon as the dollar started coming back up, all of a sudden the markets go, and they run, and selling begins. So very crazy, very insane markets, and pretty much ignore them. It's a weird thing for it to say in a stock market webinar, but ignore the market. It's not, it's silly and we shouldn't pay attention to it. Oh, gotta reset that. There we go. My portfolios. So today was all about the, if there's anything going on in the world today other than just reviewing things, I think let me know, but I don't think there is, frankly. It's nothing too exciting. Here we go. So today we are looking at our $700 a month portfolio, which is right there. Oh, 33.7%, having a good day too. So so we're up 3% for the day. So we're loving this, and probably we're loving the Russell because these are kind of Russell type stocks. So anyway, we're not going to look at it here. We'll look at it here because I just reviewed it. You know, this applies to everybody, and I know it's a $700 a month portfolio because we didn't, in our last set of portfolios, we didn't do anything to help like regular small people make money, and I got a lot of people ask me for that. Once upon a time, not the last set of portfolios, which went back to 2019, but the set before that, we had what we called a $25,000 a month portfolio. I'm sorry, the $25,000 portfolio. So you start with $25,000, and that one went up to like $200,000 by the time we closed it. So that was good. But we started with 25, so it was a lot faster process. Here, I just, the logic in the beginning was $700 a month. We got to $700 a month because it's like, okay, if you make the average household income of $58,000, $60,000 a year, you got to be able to take 10% of your money and put it away. If you just have to make decisions based on the fact that step one, take 10% of my income and put it into an investment account. If you don't do that, you're just never going to get rich. So I wanted something where I'm saying, okay, it's realistic to say people can invest $700 a month. That's what I need. I need $700 a month to get started, so we're not being ridiculously cheap. $500 a month would have sounded better, but honestly, by the time you just can't, without taking ridiculous risks, you can't get there. $700 a month, 30 years. It means if a kid coming out of college in their first job puts away $700 a month, by the time they're 50 years old, they'll be at least a millionaire. And by the way, we're talking stocks. So when we talk about being a millionaire, they kind of adjust for inflation. Like when the market inflates, when things go up, the stocks tend to go up too. So, whatever a millionaire means at that time. And again, well, we'll talk about that after, but the pace we're on, we're like so far past a million. A million is my minimum target for this. So number one, it's not about the $700 a month because you could put in $7,000 a month. You can put in $2,000 a month. Whatever you want to do in proportion, it doesn't make a difference, does it? It's a concept of learning how we trade, why we select stocks. That's what I want to go through month by month by month and just grind this out. It's an educational post, but you can also follow it with any multiple you want to follow it with. It's not set in stone at $700 a month. It's not set in stone that you only start with $700. But again, so in other words, like right now, I was pointing out, we made some good money. We're up 30%, but 30% is only getting us to $9,133. So after 9 months, we're not even at $10,000, even though we're up 30% and up 33.7% now after another few hours. And that's how it works with options. You know, I keep saying this, and it's like, you don't have to be, you don't have to take a lot of risks to make a lot of money. And it's not about these silly option plays that most people make, where they say, oh, IBM's at 140 and I think it'll go to 160, so I'm going to buy the 150 calls for $2, and if it goes to 160, I'm going to make $10. I'm going to make 5 times my money in a month. It's like, well, yeah, but you're taking a huge risk because IBM isn't even at 150 and you're buying $150 calls. You're paying all premium. You're being the sucker that we like to sell to. You're the gambler. We're the house. And you're hoping you make a 500% gain, but probably you won't. Whereas we are statistically selling all that risk to other people, and most likely statistically, we will make our money. It will not be as exciting as making 500%, but we're much less likely to lose. We're much more likely to build consistent profits. And that's what this whole thing is about. You have to learn. It's very difficult because it's very boring when you start. It doesn't look like you're getting anywhere, okay? Even though we're up 30%, that's the point. You start, we put $7,000 into the portfolio and we're up $2,133. That doesn't seem very exciting, does it? But that's because but it is exciting. It's 30%. If we had put 7 million in, we'd be up 2 million. And suddenly it sounds exciting. 700,000, we'd be up $200,000. That's pretty exciting. It just seems very tedious when you're doing it with $700 a month. It's the same reason why when you're gambling and you're playing, you know, if you gamble, you go to a casino and you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to play $200 budget. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. You go to the casino and say, I don't want to lose money. I'm going to play $200. So you play with $200. Even if you win with $200, if you go up $100, you don't really care because you make $100,000 a year. You make $2,000 a week. So going up $100 playing craps for an hour doesn't seem very exciting, right? It's not affecting your life. It won't even impact your dinner decision to make $100. And that's the problem. It's a mentality of proportion you have to get. You know, in fact, one of the things I realized when I was young, when I was a teenager and I used to go to Vegas and Tahoe and things like that, I realized that I played much better if I set a goal. So in other words, my friend and I, when we would go skiing, we would play blackjack, we'd play craps, whatever, and we would play, and our goal was to say, okay, we're gonna put $100 on the craps table, and if we make 50 bucks, we're gonna go get a really great sushi dinner. You know, and back then it was, you know, whatever, different prices. But if we make 50 bucks, we're gonna go get a good sushi dinner. And if we lose 50 bucks, we'll go to McDonald's. So in other words, the thing we wanted to buy was a $50 sushi dinner, right? Which was gourmet top of the line stuff back then. So the thing we wanted to buy was a really nice sushi dinner. But if we didn't do that, we were gonna have a sushi dinner anyway. So basically we were gonna punish ourselves. We were gonna spend 50 bucks on sushi. We played 100 bucks on the table. If we won 50 bucks, free sushi. And if we lose 50 bucks, we don't get the sushi. We go to McDonald's for $5. And you know what? No effect on our lifestyle either way. That's the key to it. So the money we won was a bonus. We were going to spend the 50 bucks anyway. We got it for free from the craps table. Therefore, dinner was free. Free sushi dinner. Very nice, right? It turned out that doing it that way with a reasonable goal in mind and quitting the minute we got ahead and got to our goal, we quit. That led us to having sushi every night or almost every night. We very rarely had to go to McDonald's. So instead of the week budget being like, let's get maybe 1 or 2 nice dinners over the course of a week, we ended up having like 5 nice dinners and 2 McDonald's. You know, it was fine. And we spent, in the end, the 2 McDonald's was the only losses we had. We lost $50 twice. We went to McDonald's twice. We were going to eat dinner anyway. And the other times we had great dinners because we had a pretty good winning percentage. But we had a good winning percentage because we had a goal. We didn't, when we played, you go down a little, you go up a little. But anytime we had a really nice win, boom, money off the table, let's go eat. That's the way you play stocks too. It's the same thing. You've got to cut back on your expenses. If you're, to invest, you've got to take that $700 mentality and you've got to take it forward when you buy a house. And again, proportional 700, whatever it means to you. But you've got to take that money and you've got to make that decision when you buy a car, when you buy a house, when you get sushi, whatever you're spending money on, you have to say, is this going to take away from my life savings plan? That's the most important thing. And I know so many people who have parents who are struggling to make their retirement payments and things like that. They thought they'd have enough money in retirement, but they didn't think they were going to live 25 years. There's a lot of 90-year-old people running around now. People thought, retirement was 65, but people lived to 72. So people thought they needed enough money for like 10 years. That's what most retirement plans were. There are so many people who are going blasting past 75 years old, and Social Security is certainly not covering it, and they're running out of their savings. You don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to be a burden on your kids when you're older. So, having a good, solid retirement plan is going to give you a lot of money is an important thing. And you can do it because all the decisions you make in life, do you need, when you're looking at a house, do you need that extra room? Do you need that extra place? Does it have to be the one with the great view? Whatever it is, if it's going to save you $700 a month or $1,000 a month, and that money is going to be millions of dollars down the road, why are you going to spend it now on bullshit? I can tell you now, I just was in a house for 20 years in Jersey. I love that house. That house was huge. In fact, I was just telling my friend, we had 4 refrigerators. We had 2 we had 3 downstairs. We had a downstairs kitchen with a refrigerator, and then we had a huge basement with 2 sections. So in each section of the basement, there was a fridge. We had a beer fridge and a soda fridge, and a bulk food fridge was the one in the basement kitchen because we had the barbecue and everything down there on the porch and the pool. And upstairs we had the normal giant kitchen fridge. And I honestly, that's the one thing I can't live with. I would rather be in a small apartment with 4 refrigerators because it was just such a pleasure being able to it was just stocked like a 7-Eleven. It's like whatever you wanted to drink, whatever you were in the mood for was there. Any kind of frozen food was there, different stuff. No matter, it was like just constant access to anything you ever wanted. And it was great. And there'd be like pizzas, if there was always a pizza that was frozen, there's always leftovers for things and whatever. It was just fantastic. I loved it. So I highly recommend getting extra refrigerators. So the point is though, but still, do you need all that? All right, when you're buying a house, do you need all those conveniences? Do I need did I even need the downstairs with the extra kitchen at all? How many times did we actually use it? To really cook a couple of times a year. To actually cook something downstairs, the barbecue we cooked all the time, but the kitchen downstairs, not really. And so, do we need that entire room in the house? Did we need all the stuff down there? Did we need the extra space? No, not really. And so what, would I have been better off for 20 years saving $1,000 a month on my house and putting it away? Yeah, absolutely. How dumb of a question is that, right? You got to think about that when you buy everything. When you buy a car, when you buy a house, when you're going on trips, you got to think about the money you're spending and what else you could be doing with it. And that's what the point of this is you've got to have a discipline that every month, I invest 10% of my income every single month and I put it away. Because if you do that, you will be able to have your income for the rest of your life at least. All you have to do is take 10% and put it away and it'll compound and grow. And we're not even doing, and again, it's a conservative portfolio. It'll grow, it'll make you rich, it'll bring you in tons of money, it'll keep up with inflation. And not only that though, but when you're done with it, when you finally die at 90 or 100 or whatever age you live to, you'll still be swimming in money, and you can leave that to your family. And it'll grow and they'll keep swimming in money. And all that is because you made your own coffee instead of going to Starbucks. And all that is because you didn't have an extra room in the house that nobody ever slept in anyway. So that's the basis for this kind of portfolio. Anyway, it's so boring to build it and to do it early on because the returns don't seem very exciting. But again, it's because it's disproportionate. I'm doing this for people at 700. I'm doing it for people where $700 is a lot of money to save every month. But excuse me, but just change that to 7,000 and it should be okay for almost anybody. It gets a lot more exciting, right? Do 70,000 if you're rich. I don't care. I mean, whatever your number is, that's the number you can work with. But anyway, so getting back to this, the idea is to get to be $1 million over 30 years. And that's what I was just talking about. Okay, so our goal is only to make 10% a year. And I'm sure I've done this before in a webinar, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but let's just take a quick look. You go compound rate, compound interest calculator. And the one I like is Money Chimp because it's nice and simple, that one. There you go. So you start with $700. You put in, what is it, $8,400 a year, $700 a month, right? Well, you start with zero. You can't start with zero. Okay, you start with zero. Oh, that's 84,000 for one thing. Okay, you start with 700 just to be simplistic. You start with whatever it is. Yeah, you're going to add to 8,400 a month. You're going to do it for 30 years at 10%. Okay, $1.5 million. So how much are we putting in? About 250,000 total dollars. Okay, because you're putting in 8,400 times 30. So 8,400 times 30 years is $252,000. So you're putting in 252,000. You're going to get $1.5 million back. And again, it's 10%, but it realistically is going to adjust for inflation because the stocks will increase in value, the dividends will increase in price, the options will go up in what you receive. So it's it's going to get bigger by accident. It's hard to quantify in this, so we're just doing simple calculations. But in reality, just imagine any stocks that you have now, look back 30 years at what they were priced then, and imagine the growth, right? So anything you have now, go back 30 years and see what would have happened, right? Huge, massive increases. Most things are up like 5-10 times in 30 years. So it's really severely understated, but we're just doing it very simply as if it was like cash in the bank or something like that. But that's the impact of it. And if you look at that and you say, well, geez, and again, if you make that 15 million because you did, if it was 7,000, that number would be $15 million if you were putting 7,000 a month away. So we're starting with, but we're doing $700. You make 1.25 million more than you put in 30 years. So if you had a house, right now, if you had a house and you bought a home, which is supposedly a good investment, right? You buy a house and let's say you put $250,000 down on your house and you give $700 a month in deposit and you put $700 a month down. So let's see, if you put $250 down, you'd be buying, let's say wouldn't be between, let's say you buy $1 million home and you put $250,000 down and you have a $750,000 mortgage, right? So you're paying about seven, well, you ain't paying 700 a month, are you? So come to think of it, but whatever it works out to, whatever house you can get for $700 a month, and obviously it's not much, right? The house you pay off for $700 a month is obviously going to be worth much, much less than 1.25 million, right? That's 1.5 million. That's clearly true. You don't have to do the math on that, right? You know that there's no $700 a month house that's going to be worth 1.5 million when you end up with it. There'll be inflation maybe, but you're probably not going to get to 1.5 million. That's the point of this. This outperforms housing right out the gate. Just making 10% a year, you're going to blow the doors off housing. Not to mention the house you would buy requires maintenance and so on and so forth, and pay taxes and everything else. This is money coming to you. Houses are money going out that you're spending. And God forbid the house doesn't go up in value, your whole plan is screwed. And again, here, what are we doing? We are being the house. We are selling premium. We are selling our risk to other people. We're establishing positions and collecting cash from other people who are paying us rent. We're investing, real investing, not gambling in the stock markets. So that's 10%. Here's 15%, 1.5, 4.25. If we up our performance just a little bit, 4.25, or 4.25. If we get to 20% returns, $12 million. Remember, same 250,000, same $700 a month, same plan. So as of today, our portfolio, as of now, is up 33.7%. It's not even a whole year yet. And certainly don't expect this to always be the case. That'd be ridiculous, but 33.7 is crazy, because then we'd have $200 million in 30 years. So, and again, though, if inflation is high and the markets keep expanding, you might end up with $200 million. And sure, inflation will eat away half of that probably, or more, but you're still in good shape. You'll still be able to afford the best old folks home in the world, right? I don't know what to say, really. It's like, it's hard for me when I have these conversations, and I'm talking to you guys because I have these conversations all the time around here when I talk to the old folks who don't have enough money for retirement and so on and so forth. And I talk to their kids who say, how can I afford to pay for my mom? I'm like, do this. All right, you can't deficit spend your whole life. You can't constantly borrow money. You got to live within your means, cut things back, and all of a sudden you'll become wealthy. Take 90% of what you have, don't use credit cards, and say, boom, this is what I have to live on. I will buy a small house and I will live in it. I will drive a normal car and I will live in it. Although no car is cheap anymore, it's ridiculous. But I will buy a normal car and drive that, and I will buy a small house and drive that, or I'll buy a car and keep it for 10 years instead of 5 years or 4 years or 3 years. I'm guilty of that. I never have a car for more than 3 years. I always lease them and give them back. You know, and again, if you are struggling or believe you're struggling or are worried about it in life, it's so simple to fix, and people don't do it. They won't. They won't do it. It's crazy. You know, I bought a 90-inch TV for the living room, and my logic of buying it was, I'm not going to need to go to the movies. Now, thank God I did too, because I bought it before COVID, and I was thinking, like, because you know what it was, movie tickets were getting up to $20, right? And I was just annoyed at the price of movie tickets, and I'm like, and also then you're sitting in the theater and I'm eating. The only thing I like is the popcorn. And they were charging $10 for the popcorn and crap like that. So it wasn't even enjoyable to buy the popcorn because now it's ridiculously priced. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I got this great living room. I have a huge amount of space. I bought a 96-inch television. We've got a kick-ass surround sound system I already had, but my previous TV was like 65 inches. This was like 90 inches. It makes a big difference. And that was, that was around 2019. So it's now 4 years ago. So for 4 years, $750 a year so far is my TV cost. Literally stopped going to the movies. I mean, almost only some IMAX superhero things or whatever. Really don't even go to the movies anymore. And even the IMAX, I'm like, I could have sat home and watched that one. It's like it's 50-50 whether it's worth it at the IMAX to go see the one superhero movie. I have certainly saved, I would say, had to spend at least $20 a week at the movies. So I was spending probably about, not even the popcorn. So figure I was spending almost $2,000 a year just on me, more if I had a date or more if I went with my family or something like that. So I was spending about $1,000 a year on movies myself. Just because I would once a week, I would end up going to the movies. You know, I mean, what do you do? Now I invite my friends over. We'll sit down in my living room having really good popcorn, having snacks and stuff like that. That costs me some money, but I'm entertaining. You know, but it's simple. I save a tremendous amount of money by spending money. And again, not everybody can do that, but I can spend money to save money. But you got to look at every aspect of your life and say, can I cut this back? What can I do that's less money? What can I do that's not wasting so much cash? But anyway, this is what you can do. Now, that's not what you can. I mean, that's lucky. We're lucky. 33.7% is lucky, but 15% is not lucky. 15% is very possible. $4.2 million. You're putting in the same $250,000, getting $4.2 million back. So, how do we do it? Well, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the 9 months so far, plus this one. Every single step, every single trade is in here. We only, I don't guarantee it's always going to be like that, because if something drastic happens, we'd make an adjustment. But as a rule of thumb, we basically only make adjustments once a month when it's the beginning of the month to do this portfolio. It's not even a high touch portfolio or anything like that. We're not playing them, you know, we're not day trading or anything. We're just making sound investments each time we look at the market based on what's good right now. And you can see how we picked every single stock that's in here, what we said about it, how we changed it, and what we did over the time to get to this far, Oh, and again, that's true, because it's even the 33% we're at now is only for 10 months. So, you know, you got to add 20% to that for what we would be doing if it was a year at this pace. So, you want to see what it is here? So basically, annualized, we're at 40%. Almost $1 billion, getting towards $1 billion. And again, obviously, I'm not going to make 40% every year, but if you don't lose money and you make an average of 10 or 15%, any year you make 40% is a huge bonus, right? It brings up the average nicely. So we started last August, right about 4,000 on the S&P. When we started was the end of August last year. August. So right about here is where we started. And since then, we had a big down thing. Then we went up, then we went down, then we went up, then we went down, and now we're here. So the S&P on the whole is up 13% from 4,000, and we're up about double that, more than double that, about 2.5 times what the S&P is getting. That's the leverage we use. So, and we've already taken out positions and so on and so forth, but what we're left with at the moment is 5 positions. So we've already made money and cashed out at some positions. We don't have any margin. We're playing this for a 401k or IRA kind of account, so we don't have any margin. But we can sell puts, but when we sell a put, it costs us the full amount of the put and margin, that's all. And I talked about the ones that we've had already. We have a CIM, which is a REIT. We have New York Community Bank, which during the banking crisis for 4, I decided was way too cheap. And we took the 7-10 spread, and now we're over 7, so we're already in the money. You know, and look what we did. It was a 7-10 spread. We spent, for the $3 spread, it was $261 minus 142 is like $1.20, right? So we paid $1.20 for a $3 spread. That's 180 upside, which is 150% upside potential And let's look at NYCB. Well, it's going to be down here, I imagine. So when did we do it? April 4th. That's right. So on April 4th, after it recovered and after we had a chance to review, there's no, I didn't take any chances. I didn't jump in March. Could have. But we were looking to see, wait till this thing is fixed a little bit, see where we settle out, and then find a good bargain. I found a good bargain. It was NYCB. So right here, first week of April, we went into NYCB because it was on my list. We made a list of the banks that we felt were most likely to recover. Oh, I know, NYCB is the one that bought Signature. They got Signature Bank. Was it Signature Bank? Yeah, Signature Bank's assets. They took it, Signature Bank's assets. That's why I picked them, because I was like, holy crap, they got them for nothing. So they basically are given the assets of the company. They took on some liabilities, but so what? They weren't the losses. They took on the liabilities of the assets they had. That's perfectly normal. So I said, this is crazy. They're going to make a fortune. And we took this bank. That was why we picked it. And we were at 9, and I said they'll go to 10. So we took the 7-10 spread for $1.20. The 7-10 spread. Remember, we're at 9. We took the 7-10 spread that was $2 in the money. The net cost of it, because we sold the premium, was only $1.20, and we had $1.80 upside getting back to 10, 150%. That right there, I could have done that one trade, put all the money of the portfolio into it, and done it. But the problem was, at the time, we only had $700. we drip by drip by drip, we go into these things. I'm pretty sure in some of our other portfolios we took a bigger piece, but it doesn't matter. The concept is, so we found a bargain that day and we took it. And if you take plays like that have the potential to make 150%, and I'm sorry, I forgot the time frame. These are 2025, so it's 18-month play. So we take a play that's going to make 150% or 10% per month, not per year, 10% per month if this trade goes well. So we take a trade that's going to make 10% a month, and it's not a crazy play. It's based on our analysis, picking the bank, seeing a situation, and seeing the options, and saying, here you go. If this trade works out, it's got 150% upside. So just that trade, if it made $700 or $1,050, if it made $1,050, that right there is 10% on our portfolio for the whole year. Only this one trade had to go well, and our whole portfolio was over 10%. That's how you play. The CIM, we sold puts. We sold $320 worth of puts. So we collected $320. We get a hit for, it's only 2, so we got hit for 1,000 in margin. We collected $320, so we're net $680, right? You get $320 back in cash. You use 1,000 in margin. That's net $680 of total buying power that gets spent. So for $680 in buying power, we're going to make $320 50%, not a little less than 50%. So again, it's also 18 months. We're going to make, but this trade, we were going for 50% over 18 months. Again, our goal is 10% a year. We felt this had a very, very strong possibility. If this actually hit, and it is hitting, it's working fine. If this actually hits, then what happens? Then we make, we're making almost 50% on our money over, in this case, it started 11.3, so it is basically 2-year trade, and that's 25% a year, well over our goal. And we feel it's more important to win than to make a lot of money. If I'm 99% certain, like I am with CIM, that it's going to be over 5, I feel comfortable making 25%. I could make more, I could try to make more, but this is to me a no-brainer, because I collected 320. Our worst case scenario is we're in 200 shares at 640, which is like 3 something a share, which is ridiculously low. So our worst case scenario is to get the stock at an incredible discount that would make no sense. And obviously with anything, something can go wrong, but these are what I'm talking about when I say conservative plays. SunPower, We took the 1023 spread, and let's look at them down here. Sorry, actually, thing. So this NYCB has $615 left to go to gain. SunPower is actually down from where it started. You have oh well, not anymore because they're up a little today. They were this morning. They were down. And that's another thing, by the way, you have to get used to that. When you do options, you have to get used to the vagaries of the swings, because so here this morning it was minus 1055. I'm sorry, minus 1100 plus 1055. So it's down about $50, right? Not a big deal, but it's down about $50. So now SunPower has gone up only 19 cents, and suddenly it's 1025.988. So there's been a 75, 80, 90. It's almost a $90 swing in the price. It went from minus 55 to plus 40 just this morning. So that, options are going to change, and you can't really go by that, but you have to get used to the fact they go up and down and this and that. But what we got to focus on is, are we getting deeper and deeper in the money? Are we making money? Are we making progress for our goal? Our goal is 23. We started at 10 a month ago, 2 months ago, call it 2 months ago. We started at 10 2 months ago, and we've gained $1. We took the 1023 spread and we made $1. So we're making progress, and it's $1 in 2 months. What's our goal? Our goal is to make $13 in 24 months. We're right on schedule. And it doesn't matter what the money is. It matters what the stock is doing, what we think it's going to do. It's going towards our goal. If it gets to 23, this stuff will go away. All the premiums will go away, and this will be worth exactly $13 once it gets to 23. Over time, if there's a time premium too. But if this stays on track, and it's right on track now, we're in good shape. And that's another thing about the way we do our portfolios. You can always tell if your position's on track. So NYCB, I have, so here we have 285. I didn't do the percentage. It's not really a percentage though. That's why, because it's like 100%, obviously, if it's short puts. But we have $285 left to gain. That seems worthwhile. We're only up 10%, so there's no hurry here. The SunPower position, oh, I'm sorry. So NYCB, we have 51.9% left to gain. Now, if we only had 20% left to gain and I have to wait until 2025 to get it, I'm probably going to take it off the table because it's not worth it anymore. I've got 80% of my money is out of the trade already. If I cash it in, I can put my 80% to work on something that's going to make more than 20% in 2 years. But you see, that's what you're doing. You're analyzing every single position and optimizing what you're doing with your money, and you're doing it. And those are scary words to some people who aren't used to dealing with all this crap. But the reality is, it's going to be second nature to you when you get used to looking at the numbers this way. How long do I have left? How much money can I make? Is this a good? How sure am I that this is a good trade? So here's SunPower. It's actually worse off. Like I said, it's worse off than where we started, but it has tremendous upside potential. The spread is a 1023 spread. So we're at 1134. And like I said, it's on track. We entered this spread on, I think we rolled that down actually. So we entered this spread on 3.3, let's say. And where are you? On 3.3, so about here. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but we went down further and now we're catching back up. But on the whole, not a problem. Oh, that's not March 3rd. I'm sorry, March 3rd's up here. March 3rd, we were actually up here on 3.3. So we took a dive since then. I apologize. Yeah, that's where we were. So we thought our 1023 spread was nicely in the money at the time. It's dropped, but because it's options, it hasn't really killed us. Then we have UNG, which is natural gas, and the natural gas spread is it a 5 something? 3.5? No, it's 5.8. So our natural gas spread is 5.8. and it's currentely at 6. Well, 6 is pretty good. If the spread is 5.8 and we're at 6, we're probably in pretty good shape. We have 160% left to gain if it goes from 6 to 8. So if it gains 33%, we make 160%. And we think natural gas is way too low at this price. And if you're looking at this long chart, it does seem like 10 is more of an appropriate number for it, not 6. And remember, it's a commodity, not a company. So it's not like natural gas is having a bad year or that natural gas has competitive pressure. Well, it does have competitive pressure. It's competitive pressure from solar. You know what's freaking the natural gas people out right now is these heat pumps. Because of what's happening in the Ukraine, the governments in Europe have been spending huge amounts of money to give people heat pumps. So instead of using natural gas or whatever else they're using to heat their homes, they're using these heat pumps, and heat pumps are great. They're really super efficient. Problem is they're a very long payoff. So if a consumer wants to buy one, they're going to spend $5,000 and they're going to save, $500 a year easily on their natural gas bill. But that doesn't make any sense. People don't want to lay out that kind of money to save just get it back over time. But for the government, they're like, oh yeah, let's do that, because they have greater concerns, like how much overall natural gas importing are we doing, and what's our pipeline capacity, and so on and so forth. So all that matters. Then we have SoFi, which is one of the new virtual banks, although they have the thing about SoFi, they got their banking charter. Unlike many virtual banks, they've got chartered. That means they're protected by the FDIC. It also means they have to follow a lot of regulations, but they're basically unique in that they are a bank that built themselves as a digital bank from scratch and got a charter, which gives them, first of all, it's much cheaper for them to borrow money, which is very important, right? They have the access to the discount window at the Fed and so on. A lot of their competitors do not. The digital competitors don't have that kind of stuff. So it's great for them. Their growth is fantastic. People love the product itself. The usability and the way they interface with their people. They like it a lot, and they're growing really nicely. They were being hit by the student loan crisis, and again, people don't understand. Most people read a headline. So they see student loan debt forgiveness. And then they say, well, SoFi has a lot of student loan business. If it's forgiven, they're going to go bankrupt. But that's idiotic, right? The student loan forgiveness program doesn't say to the banks, ha ha, you lent money and now we're not going to pay it back. That's not what happens. It means the government's going to pay it back and the bank gets the money back. It's just the delay is worse for them than the forgiveness. The forgiveness, they don't care. It's just closing out the loan. They'll lend something else. It's the forgiveness that was killing them, because there's no provision. The government's just saying, okay, these people don't have to pay their debt this year. They don't have the interest accumulates, and over the long run, they'll get it back. Doesn't change the interest. The banks don't have to stop charging interest on the loans, but the loans don't have to be paid. There's a forbearance period that the government mandated that the banks allow the borrowers because of the hardship of COVID. So that's short-term bad for SoFi, but it's not long-term bad, because those loans are still racking up. In fact, those loans are racking up interest at a rate level that they could not currently sell those loans for. The contracts are still valid against the old loan rates, and those loans are picking up. So when the government does come and pay all this crap off, SoFi's going to have suddenly they're going to post a quarter or whatever that's going to be through the roof. But people don't read past the headline that says student loan forgiveness, and they go, oh my God, student loan forgiveness, get out of all these people who make student loans. Because they're too lazy to figure out what the whole story is, or to think about the mechanics of what's going on. It's the same thing with SunPower. SunPower is our stock of the decade. The pace at which solar energy last year, there was more solar energy installed than there were or any other kind of any other energy project. So there's more solar energy projects in megawatts put online than nuclear, coal, nothing. No, there's nothing more than solar that was being put around the world last year. And we are only at, year 1 or 2 of giving a damn and actually starting to do something to address climate change, which is going to be a super crisis in 20 years. And the UN knows it, and the World Bank knows it, and everybody knows it, and solar is going to have to double and triple and quadruple and quintuple and whatever the hell else comes after that every year going forward for the next 20 years, and we still won't have it, we still won't be done with what we need to do to change the planet. And the fossil fuel industry is fighting this every step of the way. They're putting out press releases, they're getting fake science reports, just like climate denial. It's the same thing. They're trying to tell people solar is no good. Oh, and the newest thing now is solar is no good because the waste from the panels is going to be an environmental crisis. So in other words, as the panels age out, and by the way, they have a 25-year life cycle. As the panels age out 25 years from now, they're going to have to be treated like toxic waste from the chemicals. Now, first of all, we already recycle solar panels. We already pull out a lot of the materials and do a lot of recycling. Second of all, obviously, they're going to improve that over the years. Third of all, we already dump nuclear waste in deep pits in the desert. You don't think we can throw solar panels in deep pits in the desert? It's not even close to being as bad as nuclear waste. It's just insane. But again, people don't read past the headlines. Some guy on Fox News makes a quote, some idiot who's not, I'm not talking about a newscaster, although, what did Tucker Carlson just say? It was horrifying. Oh, I forgot. Tucker Carlson just said something so ridiculous. I got to find it now. Now I'm going to think about it. It's just like on Twitter. So here you go. All you had to do is write Tucker Carlson. Tuck. Conspiracy theories, new show on Twitter. A sad 10-minute broadcast. Oh, it was the Ukraine thing. That's right. He said something about the Ukraine. I forget it. It was some Russian propaganda. That's why what was it that he kept saying? Tucker Carlson. He just said something so horrific. It was about the Ukraine. All right, well, Tucker Carlson calls Ukraine's Jewish leader rat-like. Well, that was not even the thing that got me upset. I forgot what it was. All right, whatever. Anyway, so how did we get to that? What the hell were we talking about? Now I lost track. All right, anyway, SoFi. Oh, I'm sorry, headlines, right? So people hear one thing, and this is what these people prey on. They hear one thing and they believe it, and they don't investigate it, and they actually live their lives by it because they heard it from some moron like Tucker Carlson. Or not even Tucker Carlson, but one of the guests. Like he has a guest on, and he introduces the guest. The guy sits in the chair, guy you never heard of in your life, sits in the chair next to Tucker Carlson and says, well, we've done a study that shows that Jews control the Ukraine, and that's why Russia's trying to stop this conspiracy. And all of a sudden, people like walking around and talking about the Jewish Ukraine conspiracy theory, and it's just like it's not even a part of a fact. But they don't filter the guests. They let anybody on, and they don't care if they're spouting complete bullshit. It's really infuriating. I mean, I took journalism classes when I was in college. I mean, this is like, they taught you not to do this stuff. It was almost a given that you would never do this stuff, and it's how the media is now. I had a media rant early in the week, didn't I? So I'm not going to get into it now. So where are we? So SoFi was very undervalued. We bought some. We actually took, this is the first aggressive thing we've done in this portfolio is with SoFi. I just bought 7 calls because I said at this price, and we're talking 12-1, So at the December 1st price of under $5, I said, I don't want to sell any calls. It spiked to where we are now in February. I did not sell calls, and it went back down and came back to where we bought it. And now it's back to 783, which is where we left off last time. But I think now they've gotten past a lot of the bullshit, and it's going to have some legs. So you'll see what we decide to do here later. So the bottom line, though, is if you add up our expected gains, and on every position, we know exactly how much money we have left to make, 239% here, whatever. We know at every position what we're going to make if things go well. So if things go well in an up market, we're going to make $11,287, which is 123%. We'll make that because the latest thing that we have is January 2025, I think. Do we have any Decembers? No, everybody's January. So in 18 months or less, we are gonna make, unless things go badly, we'll make 123.5%. Now, that would be 60% per year. So if everything goes well and we make 60% a year, the pacing will be 30 million. Wait, no, that can't be right. How can that be? How can 30% be 97 million? 40%, 728. Oh, there's some kind of a calculation error when you get past the thing. Because 60% is obviously. Oh no, it's $30 billion. Oh, I see, with all the commas, it falls off this way. The decimal points right there. This is. So anyway, if we actually hit our goals, and of course you're not going to hit all your goals. Those are goals. It's like sales. It's like being a salesman, right? It's like you have goals and you have reality. But if you get close to your goals, you're doing good. So we have goals that are for 60%. They're not all going to go right, but if they all did go right, and we kept up this pace for 30 years, and again, unlikely, then we're talking $30 billion. Then you'll be one of the richest people on earth because you put $700 a month into a portfolio. But that's also why when you're going at this kind of pace, you have to say to yourself, that's not realistic. I'm not going to be one of the richest people in the world for my $250,000 investment. That's not going to happen. If it was that easy, everybody would be a billionaire. So along the way, things will go wrong. We won't always have a great year. We'll have to scramble sometimes. We'll have to protect ourselves sometimes. But in a market like this, when it's going up steadily, we can make insane amounts of money. And it's not, in fact, it's not that great. It's not that big of a deal when we make 60% on $7,000 in the first year. That's I don't know, like $4,000, right? So it's not that big a deal if we make $4,000 in the first year. It sounds nice, but not great. But it still puts you so far ahead of where you were going to be. At 10%, we don't make $6,000 for like the whole decade. We spend the whole decade trying to make $6,000. If we make it in our first year, and that's a 40% return. If we make that in our first year, we are miles ahead on the curve. And after that, if we go back, oh, here, I'll show you. So let's say, and this is why we don't change our game plan, okay? So let's say now we have, what did I say, 11,000. So now we have $11,000. We're still putting in our $700 a month. Now we've only got 29 years to grow at 10%, right? So remember before it was 1.5? What? What? That can't be right. Or it was 10%, not 1.5. Good God. $700, 8,400 edition, 30 years to grow. That was 1.5. If you have $11,000 to start and you add 84 and you cut 1 year off, oh, that's interesting. So it won't have a lot of impact right off the bat. It's going to have to move the needle better. But the point is, if we have, in the year, oh, this is still 10%, don't forget, but in the year that we make 60%, if we have, let's say we have steady 10% for a while. Oh, here you go. So let's say we start again, $700, $8,400 a year, 5 years, 10%, we have $57,000, right? So then we have $57,000. We're still adding $700 a month. So this is now year 6, right? Year 7, this will be the start of year 6. And now we have 25 years left to grow at 10%. Oh, it's still going to be the same money. Oh, because we're only on track. I'm sorry. But then we have one good year at 50%. Let's say we have a good, let's say year 6 is great and we go to 6 and we add 50% here. So we add 25,000, 26,000 more dollars. That's 63, 83. So now we're at $83,000. And now we have 24 years left. See how it creeps, it goes, see how it bumps up like that. So every time you have a good year, that's what it's trying to get to the point. Every time you have a good year, it significantly increases your further returns, even though you only added 25, 30%, 40%. That one good year can significantly change your future returns coming forward. And and you know what's wrong with this? It doesn't show like you're reinvesting them. It doesn't show that you're broadening your base. That's the problem. It doesn't understand that it's a portfolio, because as a portfolio, we're going to be able to double up the positions and start bringing in a lot more money. So it'll be 10% of a much bigger base. Where was I? Oh, back to here. Okay. So again, though, because of the way we review it, because of the way we pay attention and track it, we know exactly how much we're supposed to gain. So I know right now we have $9,100 right now. We are supposed to make $11,100. So it's 11287 divided by 18 more months is $627 a month. So we should be right about $10,000 next month. If we're not on track. So over the next 30 days, if we're on track, we should be getting to $10,000. And that, again, doesn't seem very exciting, does it? But we're at a frickin' 30% pace. We're at a 30% pace. We're on track to, actually, it's a 36% pace, but whatever. But so we're at a 30% pace. Let's go back to the normal, 784 and 30 years. We're at a pace to get $97 million. And all we're supposed to do next month is make $600. It does not seem exciting, but it gets really, really exciting as time goes by. It becomes ridiculous money. This is generational wealth at this point. And what am I asking to commit? $700 a month. See if we have any questions. Nope. Okay, great. All right, that was easy. So now that we know how much we have, and we know how much money we have to spend, I have that written somewhere. Oh, yeah, so we have $2,233 worth of buying power at the end of this exercise. So our potential gains are 11,000, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. So from the watch list. So now I'm saying, okay, on the watch list, and where's the watch list? Watch list, watch list, watch list. What did my logo look like? That. There you go, watch list. Reload. Watch list from 12/28. Okay, so we've been watching these stocks all year long, and the ones that were cheap were good for the portfolio, but that's what I mean when I'm talking about the watch list. So of the watch list, we would go down the watch list, and we did this already at a webinar, so I'm not going to do it again. Allstate's still a cheap stock though. Now it's cheap, but it's too much money, so we're not going to play it in this portfolio. APD. Notice how a lot of these stocks have taken off, right? They've already blasted higher. Boeing, it's hard to, it's just freaking delayed them. They just delayed the 787s again. It's ridiculous. They just can't get these freaking planes straight. Barclays is good. Big Lots is good. Booking took off like crazy. See, and they're too expensive. These guys are cheap. I like them. But we picked out the stocks. So we went through this list like that and we picked it out. Right now, the easiest thing to do with the watch list, so see who's still down in the dumps. Who can still be bought? Citibank's still really cheap, right? But too expensive for our portfolio, for this portfolio. Cheesecake Factory, I always like to buy them when they're down here. So there's still plenty of things I would like to add. My beloved CIM, Cleveland Cliffs is still cheap. So there's plenty of things to add in the watch list. So, you know, and again, you know, when you want to pick something, when you guys are like sitting there and saying, why isn't Phil stock? Pick something off the watch list and ask me about it. I'm not rushing to fill up our portfolios because then we're going to just sit around doing nothing for the rest of the year. I don't want to do that. And I also want to be sure that the market is on strong footing, which I'm not sure about. But anytime you can look at this list, that's what it's for, and say, oh, who is still cheap? Which ones are still above? Look at Disney's still so cheap. They got problems, that's why. Dow Chemicals is still cheap. eBay is still cheap. Are they smart now? Expedia, we just picked, I was just bitching about not being able to pick up Trivago because it didn't have the right options, but Expedia is still cheap. Ford is still cheap. So that's why, again, I'm not in a hurry to get into stocks because it's not like everything's getting away from us. Some stuff has gotten away from us, but not everything. And other things will get cheap, right? Over time, other things will crash. You don't have to buy everything that's on sale. But so from our watch list, we picked out these stocks as the ones that would fit in this portfolio. And then other stocks that we picked besides that, when I looked in March, these were all candidates that we looked at in March. So of these, which we reviewed this morning, all right, so I like Trivago down here. If Trivago had proper options, I would love it because I'd sell the $1 puts and I would buy the stock, or I would buy the 1-2 spread, but it doesn't work that way because when I looked at them, and I really should look at the options first, but you know, it doesn't come up that often that I look at a stock and then it doesn't work. But see the problem? You look at this option thing, you can tell it's a dead stock. There's nothing trading. So it's not appropriate. But what we did, you know, what I did say would be a nice trade is just buy the stock and sell. I think I said sell the January 250 calls. I don't know what I said. What was the play we were trying to make? Bid ask. What is this? Wait a minute. January 24. Oh no, I don't think there's a play on Trivago. Sorry, let's mixing that with something else. Oh yeah, there's no. Yeah, it's not playable. That's the problem. So you know, you can buy the stock, but I mean that's all you can really do with it. There's nothing to do with options. So that was Trivago. I said Ford, Trox, I like those. Future Fuel, I like. Oh, and so Future Fuel, now we look at the options for Future Fuel. And also, they don't have a lot of options. They only go out till November, but at least they trade. People are buying these things. So I said, why don't we just buy 100 shares and sell the November 750 calls? So here's the November 750 calls, which are last sold for 195. The price is 195 to 235. So you just sell them for $2. It's not like you're asking a lot to get $2 for it. And that nets us into a position. All right, and so that ends up putting us into a position that we're gonna meet 10%. And you're like, what, Phil, why are you getting into a position that makes 10%? Because over time, I want to build up a cheap position in Future Fuel. And they do pay a dividend also. So we're in there for, you know, we'll get the dividend. and we'll get the constant sale of calls going forward. And when we get more money, it'll be there in front of us, so we'll be always reminded in case it gets cheap or we see a good deal, we always buy more future fuel. Forces us to pay attention. Here's Babar, which is the bank in Argentina. And it's funny because there's a couple of reasons people don't play this. And one reason is that it's in Argentina, and Argentina has a crashing currency. But they always do. I remember I wrote a whole thing like "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," talking about their inflation and everything, their economy, way before COVID. Anyway, it was like the whole headline for the day, and it hasn't changed. So it's pretty constant. Italy used to be like that. Italy before the EU, Italy was like Argentina. Italy just constantly had 100% inflation. They just kept pouring money into it, and eventually just joined the euro. Became part of the eurozone, and they stopped doing it. But for most years, Italy was like, that's why everybody went to Italy for vacation, because it's like so cheap. So, and that's why everybody goes to Argentina for vacation. It's so cheap. But anyway, so the point is they're doing inflation. That means they're lending the money. If there's 100% inflation, it means they're lending money at 100%. Not only that, though, but they have a reserve system just like our banks do. So when they have money, they get to lend 10 times the money at 100%. And just because you have inflation, and I know it seems crazy when you hear 100% inflation, but when you have inflation, you lend money on a house, and the homeowner pays you back 100% interest over the course of the year. So in other words, it's almost like renting, right? Because I mean, basically, you're getting a $500,000 house, and you've got to pay $50,000 a month back to the bank. That is insane. Obviously, people aren't taking a lot of mortgages like that, but whatever it is that people are doing, they have to pay it. It's just like, otherwise it gets foreclosed, and the bank takes it and they sell it to somebody else. You know, it's just like anything else. It's still a bank. It's still people. They still have to. They still take out loans that they're going to pay back for the most part. So the bank makes incredible amounts of money. Now, the other reason people don't play it, aside from it's hard to wrap your head around how you can make money doing something like that, but if you go back here and you look up BBAR, and this goes for pretty much any kind of platform you have, because don't forget this is a paid platform, right? So professionally. What happens? The freaking thing's priced in Argentine, whatever the hell, pesos. This breaks every computer system when they try to analyze this, because the market cap is in dollars, the share price is in dollars, but you can't do earnings per share without a conversion, and they don't do it. It's not built into the programs properly. So most of the standard things will not ever give you a number that makes any sense, and you got to figure everything out and go backwards. So what happens? People just skip over it. But in reality, these guys are in phenomenal shape. Look at this. It's in pesos, but look at the freaking, that's the net credit that the bank has, net of debt. That's a lot of money. It's 341 billion pesos, which I don't know what a peso is anymore, but here, how much is 341 billion Argentine? Oh, there you go. Pesos to dollars. I'm not the first person who's asked this. Oh, it's not going to give me the answer. How many did I say? Was it 341? 341 thousand million billion, and it turns out to be no commas. That's annoying. That's the $1.4 billion. Okay, so they have a net $1.4 billion. You see what a pain in the ass this is? This way people don't do it. So they have 1.4 billion in cash, and the market cap is $1 billion. I mean, come on. But they get, you know, nobody picks up on it. It's crazy. So anyway, so we're doing this one, and what we're doing is a weird setup because we're buying 5, and again, because it's very margin constrained, so I have to be creative about how I utilize our cash, right? And I don't know if the bank's going to crash. We don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I do know this. I do know that if I sell, all right, it's 5 and 3, right? 3 October. So I do know that if we buy 3 2025 $5 calls, right? Those are $1.20. Well, now they're $1.25. They're $1.25. If I buy those for $600, 5, let's say for $600, right? And I sell 3 of the October, whatever I said I sold. I think I sold 3 of these. The October $4 calls. I forget. Sorry. Brain. Oh no, it's the 5s. So we sell 3 October 5s for $1 or whatever it was. So we sell the October 5s and we buy the January. Nope, it's still not right. Oh, it was. We buy the January 5 calls for $1. We sell the October 5 calls for 85. That was the plan. So we buy the January 5 calls for $1. They're up today because the whole thing's up because we talked about it. So we buy those. They're now 125. Let's say we stick to what it is. It's 125 now. We sell October 5s for $1. So we have 5, so we're spending $600. We're collecting back $300 by selling 3 of these, right? The worst thing that can happen to us is it's for net 25 cents. Don't forget, it's only net 25 cents, this whole thing. So for net 25 cents, we have the 3 5s that are covered by our other 5s. If BBAR shoots up, we're still going to be able to do a roll from here to a higher strike, like the 6s. We're still going to clear $1 on our 25 cents. Maybe we'll have to pay 20 cents to do the roll, and we'll only clear 45 cents. But that's between now and January. It's going to make us 100%, even if it spikes up. If it doesn't spike up, these guys will expire worthless. All the premium we sold will go worthless, and our shares will be cheap. The 600 we spent minus here is 300. If it goes lower, we'll sell more, and we'll have only maybe $100 invested in the whole trade. If it's slowly, or if it stays steady and goes slow and rises slowly, and we roll these 5s, we have 3 5s for $300. The 7s are currently 35 cents. So let's say that it goes up to $6, and the roll from the 5s of October to the January 7s ends up being what is it now? I'm sorry, it's 5. It's now $1, and it would go, and these are now 35 cents, so it's 65 cents. Even if we pay 65 cents for that roll, we're spending 65 cents to roll all 5, which would be $300 more basically. So we're going to spend $300 more to roll the 5 up higher. Then our net, because don't forget our net is currently 3, our net would be $600 on a $1,000 spread. So at $7, we then get a profit of $400, and that's in 226 days. Now, what's really going to happen is even more complicated, because as it goes on, we'll probably add some more longs, depending on how it performs. If it starts performing well, I'll probably add some more longs. We'll probably do a 2x roll to a higher strike, and we'll keep widening the spread. And then when the 2025s come out, we're going to spend some money and roll these to 2025s and give them more time to gain, so on and so forth, as time goes on. But there's no sense in worrying about that now. The point is, now I've got a spread that I'm very comfortable with, and here I'm even only counting on a $255 upside, but I just showed you how we could easily make 400 on it. And then we have IVZ. And IVZ is also wonderful, very undervalued at the moment. So it's silly down here. So we're doing something here. We're doing something even weirder. We're buying the $17 calls and we're selling the $15 calls, which are lower in strike, but we're selling them for $2. So we're selling $2 lower calls for $2. That pays for the margin, right? Or not for $2, for $1.80. That then pays for the margin. And again, same concept though. If it goes up, we just roll it along. And in this case, we've got the 2025. We have a whole year, we have a whole year plus to roll these things. So we're going to be able to roll them and roll them and roll them to higher and higher strikes. But meanwhile, the net of this spread is only $500 or whatever it works out to, $400. So we're only spending $410 on this trade. And here in this case, we should make about $1,000. You know, I did, and it's the same logic. I look at it and say, well, okay, you got the IVZ, and in this case, we're selling the same Octobers that we sold in the last one, but here we're buying the October, the 17s up here to limit how much we spend, right? And they're selling for under $2 right now. So we buy the 17s, 5, and we sell the October 15s. And why are we selling the 15s? Because I think that it's going to be tricky with the financials and all that. But even if it's not, I'm collecting a nice $1.80 or $1.75 or whatever it works out to. But I'm collecting $1.75. It is not, it's 95 cents in the money. So 80 cents is premium. And this is what the whole be the house concept is. No matter what happens in the world, in 135 days, that premium expires worthless. And at that point, we decide where we're going to roll to next. And if you want to know where you can roll to, what's 175? Well, these guys, the 16s of January, are 160. So for a very tiny amount of money, I can roll up $1. The 2025s that are 175 would be, well, they're 17s. These guys are less. But every time I roll it, we're putting more into premium, and we pick up $1 and we pick up $1, and every quarter we pick up $1. We can end up in the 20s. We can end up at the 22s. And we can also, again, we can double, we can not do a direct roll, we can do a roll from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 and increase it. So it's like chess, where you look ahead on the board and you say, well, if I do that, then that or that or that's going to happen. And he's going to do that move or that move or that move. Now, if I'm comfortable with what happens on each of those outcomes, I can make my move. But a good play is going to look ahead also and then say, well, okay, from those 3 moves, what are my choices after that? That's what we're looking at now. We're looking at, I'm talking about like, if this happens, then we'll do that. And if that happens, then we'll do that. And if that happens, then we'll do that. But if you're a good chess player, you can even go another move further. But then you've got, instead of you're looking at 3 possibilities, then you're looking at 9 possibilities, then you're looking at 27 possibilities. You got to keep them all in your head. And that's just for one stock. This is easier than chess because I'm only moving one piece. It's only one piece. In chess, you got to worry about that times every piece on the board. So for me as a chess player, this is pretty easy, frankly. But so conceptually, there's 3 possible things that will happen in the next stage. Stock's either going to go higher, lower, or stay flat, right? And in each one of those, I have the choice at any time to pull the plug and end the game. If it's not going the way I expect, I can always get out. Now, once I get to those moves, again, each one of those things that I do potentially have 3 outcomes again. After I do that, the stock will go higher, lower, or stay the same, right? Pretty obvious. Fine. So now at this point, I've examined the 3 possibilities of my next move plus the 9 possibilities, 3 for each of the ones, of the move after that. So if this happens then, I'll do that. If this happens then, I'll do that. That's 9. Then if after that, the next quarter or the next year even, I'm looking ahead, I'm going to look at now 27 possibilities, 3 times what the 9 were is now possible. And if I want to look ahead after that, I'm now looking at 100-something possibilities. But I'm just looking for the next few rolls out. So I got to keep like 27 things in my head and think about it and say, well, you know what? I don't mind any of those outcomes. So if every outcome I can imagine, and it's not like I can't imagine, there are only 27 things that can happen. I could write them down on a piece of paper if I wanted to. There's only 27 possible things that can happen after 2 sets of expirations. And if I'm comfortable with all of those outcomes, because I could, and again, because I could roll, I could double down, I could buy more. If I know what I will do if each one of those things happens, I say, well, if that happens, I'll do that. And if that happens, I'll do that. And if that happens, I'll do that. If I'm good with all that, it's a good trade. Then I make the play. So where we're at here is I've looked at this, but it gets, as you get to the next step after that, there's so many different things that we could do. I'm not going to explain it now. Like it'll be the whole webinar will be just me explaining one thing. But at that point, I say, okay, we're down 9. We've already gone 2 steps down with the 9. I'm comfortable with all that. I'm probably going to be comfortable with the next stage too. So although there are many, many, many things we could do here, they're all generally going to be in our favor. There's really not too many ways this can hurt us, and lots of ways this is going to help us. So we're going to do it. We're going to play it out. And it's also very educational for you guys to see it along the way. And that's like chess too, right? You don't have to see every move. You can watch the game and see what people are doing. Go, oh, look what he did. He did that. That makes him trap there, and there's that. You can only see 3 moves and enjoy a chess game. You don't have to see 27 moves or whatever. 90, whatever it is, comes after that, 91. All right. So there's that. So now we used up $1,320 to make these adjustments today. We have $289 carrying over and buying power to next month. So we're going to have $989 to play with next month. And currently we're on track to make $12,600, which is 138% over the next 18 months. If I can keep that number going up every month, if I can add 10 more percent and 10 more percent, what's going to happen? It means we're going to hit, first of all, we're working off a bigger number every month, right? We have a bigger base. I'm talking about 138% of what we have today of the 9,000 we have now. So if I can keep it going, that we're going to make 138% of 9,000, then next month we'll have $10,000 if we're on schedule. And if we can make 150% of $10,000 by making a couple of changes, and then we have the next month on schedule would be $11,000, and then I'd say, oh, what if we can get 180% back from that? And the next month it goes to 200. We look to make 200% in forward. So it's a question of just every time we keep maximizing. And then again, if I'm saying my base is 138%. That's going to make me take a harder look at I don't want to say an underperformer, but NYCB can only make me 60% more money. So of my stocks that I have now, and it's because it's already paid off. It's not because there's a problem with it, but my weakest stock right now is NYCB. It's not weak, and any normal person would be thrilled to make 60% in 2 years or in 18 months, but in our portfolio, that is our weakest link. On the other hand, though, I may say, well, the NYCB is like a sure thing. So I'm not going to throw away a sure thing to bet on something else. That's like CIM also, right? When I'm talking about that one, the sure thing. It's not making a huge percentage, but it's a sure thing. It's like almost, I can't even imagine where it's not going to be over $5. And NYCB too only has to be $10 to pay off this money. So here we have 600 here and like almost $1,000 that there's almost no way we're not going to get it. You don't throw that out the window. That's our whole year's goal. So better to stick within our means and just find other good plays. And if these guys, and again, if these guys don't need any love, if they're making their progress like they're supposed to, then I pick up another trade. If they're not making progress or if there's a problem, oh, and we have our 3 new ones. If they're not making progress or if there's a problem, then we have to make some changes and readjust. But we know what it takes to keep up. We know what has to be. If you want to be a player on this team, you've got to be putting in some serious returns with some serious certainty. And all your portfolios should be like that. Everything you do should be like that. I mean, your office should be like that. The people you hire should be like that. You gotta always be looking to polish up the quality, to improve. Everything can be improved all the time. And that's my management consultant hat, but everything can be improved. You should never sit there and be not improved. When I have, I'm a big advocate of customer service people, and I don't mean in the office, I mean field service people. So any business we have, especially ones where there are salespeople or things like that, I don't like my salespeople to constantly go on calls to our existing customers, because they tend to not like it, for one thing, because it's almost wasting time. I know there's some businesses, you know, so in other words, what I'm saying is, instead of having my salespeople go out and be the customer service people, which is what most companies do. But for my own companies and for companies that I have consulted for, it's been tremendously successful that for every 3, 4, whatever the number of salespeople, I put on an assistant, an administrative person. And often it's somebody I promote out of the office who's a customer service person on the phone, because those people are pretty easy to fix, although sometimes they're dynamos, but those people are just pretty easy to fix. Those people get promoted to being basically sales assistants, and their job is to go, not to make sales, but to go out and talk to all the customers and to make sure they're happy and to take care of stuff and to interface. So they're showing up as a proxy for the salesperson. They're not threatening the salesperson because they're not a salesperson themselves, and they get feedback. But then the thing I'm talking about, though, is the feedback. So I have those people always give them a list of things, and I say, look, you got to sit down with the client, and you got to be friendly with them. You have to be able to say, can I watch you guys, you know, using our product? Can I see how it works? You know, if it's a computer program or something like that, I want to see what your users are actually doing with this thing. And they sit down and they talk to the users and they talk to the people in the office and they look at the products and they say, okay, so you're doing this. Do you have any problems with it? Is there anything we can improve here? Is there anything that we could do better? Is there anything you wish that we did? Or is there anything that our competitors do? Is there anything other products that you use are doing that you don't like that maybe we could fix, even though it's not our product? Like, maybe we could take a look at it and see if we can improve something. You get such great feedback for that. But I would always say to the people who came back and said, you know, the girls would come back, and especially when they're early on, before I started yelling at them, but they would come back and say, they love us, everything is great. And I'm like, well, how is that useful to me? And you might feel good, and your salesperson might feel good. That's not what I want to hear. I want to know what's wrong. I need to improve. I always need to improve. You've got to ask questions. You've got to find out what could we possibly do? Like, you're a freaking genie. What can we possibly do to make your life better and make you like our product better? I don't care how much you like it. How can we make it better? And that's how you make a great company, and that's how you make a great portfolio too. It's the same thing. Every single position, every single time has to come under scrutiny, and you've got to look at it and say, is this the best fit for my portfolio? Is this the best thing I could be doing? What are my other options with this money? And if you do that and you just keep working at it and you keep polishing it, first of all, you get better and better and better at analyzing it and looking at things and taking care of it. And also it's faster because you start getting into a groove where you understand all this stuff, like boom, boom, boom. And you're going to build a strong portfolio over time. And again, or a strong business. I mean, it's the same concept. It's just make everything as good as it can possibly be. None of this is random stuff. Okay, it's like, we should know what are each of these stocks doing. I looked at Nokia, and you know, their 5G network, they spent a fortune on the 5G network. They got huge bills to pay, and it's just not catching on. It's not catching on for anybody. It's funny how everybody built out their 5G, but nobody's really taking advantage of it or doing anything with it yet. So very painful for them, and they spent a huge amount of money. Same is true for AT&T. Right? Because AT&T, again, that's one. It's funny I didn't even put it on. I should have thought of that today. Actually, I might have actually added AT&T if I thought about it today. I mean, that's just sad. How is AT&T that low? But you know why it's that low? They spent $30–40 billion building this freaking 5G network over the past few years, and it's not bringing in the revenue that they expected. It will eventually, but the problem is stuff is fast enough, right? If you guys, we didn't, when they had 3G, or when we went from wireless, when we went from Wi-Fi, basic Wi-Fi, to 3G, that was a lot faster, and everybody ran out and got a new phone the next day. They're like, holy shit, that thing actually can use the internet. So now it's 4G was a bit of an improvement. Now 5G, and 5G is way better, but we get pretty good service right now using our phone on the internet. It's not like a big deal. It's not like we're dying to get it. And that's been a huge disappointment for the phone companies. They thought we'd all rush out and spend more money. This Christmas will be interesting because the new iPhones will be out, and everybody's going to be pushing to get customers. So then Barclays still, I don't want to get too many banks. Ford I like a lot, and that's also a good fit, but we spent the money elsewhere this month. PBR, Trox I like a lot too, but what was it about Trox? Oh, there's no options, that's right. And Trivago, no options. So we had options issues there. So next time we'll probably, if I was doing it again, if I wanted one more stock, I'd go with Ford, because they pay a nice dividend, steady company, going to benefit from going electric, so on and so forth. But that's how you build a portfolio, and you've always got to have things on deck. You've always got to have something you're going to get next and figure that out. All right, and then when we're in chat, well, we talked about this PGA merger, but that's more of a bitch than anything else. Who really cares what the PGA does? Here was NTR, was a great idea by D. Tingley. That was, I thought that was an excellent stock pick from him. Dollar General, we decided was not really cheap enough to make it to make it something we want to jump on. Next week we're certainly going to be concentrating on adding. We're doing a lot of portfolio reviews for the other portfolios next month. The other portfolios being fees, butterfly income, long-term, money talk, short-term. I don't know why nobody called me for money talks so far this month. Let's see what's up with that. This would be about when I should go on. Then what else? There's another stock we analyzed, I thought. No, maybe not. But anyway, oh, here, I'm sorry, DG. Oh, it's Dollar General. So I like analyzing stocks. It's fun for me. So I mean, it's fine when you guys ask in chat if you want me to look at a stock. But it's not like our watch list is lacking in really good stocks. It's easier to talk about the watch list stocks that we already decided were the ones we want to buy, and say, okay, is now the time? That's a more relevant question. Is now the time to buy Cake? Is now the time to buy Citibank? That's what we want to look at. But we are well on our way with these portfolios to making, it's the same thing, the $700 a month, except the new portfolios. This portfolio started on 8/25 last year. Well, obviously, because it was 10 months. June is 10 months, and we've got 2 more months, and it'll be the anniversary. So this portfolio is almost a year old. We're up 33%. The other portfolio is brand new. We just started them last month. They started in May. All of those they're $100,000, $200,000, $150,000, $200,000, and $500,000 portfolios could all be jumped on. But in their own way, it's still the same thing. We're going to build them up step by step, brick by brick, and build strength and build a foundation that is going to last and is going to make you a tremendous amount of money in the long run. In the short run, boring. Boring is good. Okay, nobody has any questions at all. That's amazing. Okay, well, I'm either really good at explaining things, or I'm really boring, or I'm so boring everybody's asleep in the chair already. What else? How's the market holding up? Oh yeah, there was an inventory. Oh wow. That's not pretty. Oh, here's our boys at Yeti. Oh my God, did we not add Yeti yet? See, lots of stuff we got to do next week. We got to add Yeti. That is our stock of the year, and we don't even have it. That's sad. Wouldn't fit in here, but in the long-term portfolio for sure. Oh, flat. So it's all from 516. It's upsetting to me, but I mean, so what, right? It's flat. And it's mostly because of Foot Locker. Foot Locker has been a turkey, so it hurt us a lot. Not that we're not going to keep it, but just, it didn't have a good start. End of story. And these guys and Coinbase just got hit with a big problem. And we may have to dump Coinbase actually. The SEC, Binance, right? Where's my bing, bing, bing? Here you go. You can't ask ChatGPT, something's going on now. What did the SEC do to Binance this morning? Oh, this is nice. They're tracking my old stuff now. Can you export it or anything? Oh, that's where I'm at. According to the news, the SEC filed a lawsuit against Binance. We know about that one. Oh, here you go, emergency action. That's what I'm worried about. I hadn't been worried about this before, but this is really mean. They filed an emergency action to freeze the assets of Binance to repatriate the assets on behalf of the customers. They claim that in artificial intelligence. Now, I don't think they have this claim against Coinbase, but it doesn't mean they won't claim it just to piss them off. Can the SEC make those same claims against Coin and freeze or seize? Freeze assets. Yeah, seizing can be a little drastic. And again, always keep in mind, not that he actually knows anything, but it gives you good places to start and look up and figure out what's going on. So without me reading 100 different things and looking at news articles, he's going to come up with some that I can at least get started on. So the SEC sued Coinbase. Now see June 5th, June 6th. So the next day, SEC said that Coinbase traded 13 assets that should have been registered as That's not what they were suing Binance about. So it's not the same kind of thing. The SEC could potentially make similar claims against Coinbase and freeze its assets if it can prove that Coinbase violated securities laws and put its customers at risk. I do not believe that that's the case. However, Coinbase has denied the SEC's allegations. It will defend itself in court. Coinbase has filed a rulemaking petition with the SEC petition asking for clarity and guidance of regulation. A U.S. court is ordered. So Coinbase is going to say, we did everything that you told us to do. You approved our public offering with us doing these things. And this is a true statement. Binance is not like that. Binance is a foreign company. Coinbase is a registered U.S. corporation operating under SEC regulation directly. And so Binance is being attacked for screwing their shareholders. I'm sorry, the traders, not the shareholders. Coinbase is saying, you're the SEC, you have to protect our shareholders. We didn't do anything to our shareholders. You're telling us that we didn't trade these particular coins properly. There's 16 different coins that the SEC is saying they should have registered. And Binance is saying, we did exactly what the rules said and exactly what you told us. And not only that, but you approved us to do an IPO given all this information that you are now suing us about. And that's bullshit. And you are harming you're harming the competition. It's unfair competition. You're harming our shareholders because it's unfair that you're interfering with our ability to run our business, and you're also operating outside of your jurisdiction and outside of the law by doing this. And those are good arguments that will be very hard fought in the courts. And the thing is that you've got all these Trump judges, right, who are mostly wackadoodle. I mean, unbelievable, the judges that are in courts. So as they appeal, they're going to run into these judges that Trump put in, who are going to say anything anti-business they throw out. They don't really care what the law is. Like SEC bad, corporate America good. That's generally their attitude. But the SEC tries to show Coinbase as some radical company full of long hairs. Meanwhile, though, eventually, because the thing is, Coinbase has money. They got lots and lots of money. They will go straight. They'll go to the Supreme Court, no problem. They're already hiring Supreme Court lawyers to do this case, because ultimately they're like, if we lose, we're appealing, and if we lose that one, we're appealing, and we'll go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court is so pro-business, and has already defanged other company agencies, that Coinbase could have a huge win in the Supreme Court and become the effective industry standard for how trading platforms are going to operate. And that would be a huge turnaround. And also, even if things went terribly for Coinbase, they just leave the country. They say, you know what? Fine, we'll pay our fine. We're going to move to El Salvador, where Bitcoin is legal as currency. It is. In El Salvador, Bitcoin is considered legal tender currency. And they will go to El Salvador. They'll set up a shop over there, or they can go to the Caymans or anywhere else they want to. But, you know, they'll go somewhere where the laws are favorable, and they will set up shop there. And, you know, as a U.S. trader, what do you care? It's a web app. That's why people are using Binance here. But you're off the SEC's primary radar. They can't influence you as a stock company. They can only influence you as again, if you violate something so badly that you're hurting the investors and that you're hurting the traders in your company or on your platform. That's not something Coinbase is going to do. So they're not the same as Binance, but they're getting treated like they are. So they've rebounded a bit from yesterday's sell-off, and this is certainly nothing to really worry about. But at the moment, at this exact moment in time, it makes our portfolio ugly, because we just bought coin on the 2nd. So last week we bought coin because it got cheap, and I said, I don't think this is going to get any cheaper. Well, ha ha ha, Phil, $5,000 loss later, it's cheaper. It's too early. I'm not going to jump on it. We have a 50-80 spread, and the point was it was only net $8 for the 50-80 spread. We paid $8 for a $30 spread because of all the craziness. It's got crazy values. I don't want to tie up more than $8. $8 times 20 is $16,000. Oh, it's more than that though, because I didn't even cover them all. But we net, whatever it is we netted in for. The point is, this is good. We have a risk here of the $40 puts. We have a risk of assignment, and those $40 puts are down $1,500. But we're not at 40, we're at 53. If it expires here, we get all the money back. That's a lot of money too, $16,000. Right now it's a $17,000 deficit in our portfolio, but if it expires worthless, if Coinbase doesn't fall 20-something% to get to 40, then we're going to have $17,000 gained. That comes right back to us. All right, so, and the beautiful thing about selling premium, here's $31,000 of premium. No matter what happens in the world, that premium will expire worthless. That is a fact. That's the only sure thing in trading, is that all premium expires worthless. And I know a lot of people think, what if it's at 100? Then it's not worthless, it's $20. Well, first of all, we sold it for $27. So ha ha ha. Second of all, though, It doesn't matter. We're covered. We have the 50s. If it goes to 100, we're still going to make 30 bucks. If it goes to 10,000, we're going to make 30 bucks. If it goes to 200,000, we're going to make 30 bucks. We have a $30 spread. That's math. It will be worth $30 no matter what number it goes over. The premium, though, that was paid to us evaporates, and all that's left is the spread. So we paid net, forget that it's 15 and 20. We paid net 8, and it's a $30 spread. Those are the rules of the game. And the reason we paid net 8, though, is because we sold $27 of premium, pure premium. They have no position at all until it gets to 80. It's pure premium. But again, if it goes to $1 billion, it's still gone. The premium's gone. And we will always have a $30 advantage on their position. That is the whole game that we play. In a nutshell, this is what I teach people. Sell the premium. Be the house. You're selling the risk to all the idiots who think they know what's going to happen in the market. All I know is I think Coinbase is a value at 50, so I think it'll hold 50. It could be at 40, that doesn't bother me. 40, 50, I'll sell premium against it, right? It's not going to matter to me. If Coinbase is 40 in 2 years, then these calls expire worthless. My net is 8, right? On my 40s, on my 50s now. These would be worth obviously 0 also, but I'm not going to let it get that far, because at a certain point, if Coinbase steadies out at 35 for whatever reason, I'm going to roll this position. I'm going to take the investment I have here. So even now, I put in 71,000. I'm sorry, I didn't put in 71. That's the key to it. I put in 30. See how this is $30,000? I put in $30,000. It's currently worth, these calls are currently worth 55. These calls are negative 30. So what's going to happen is, as we get close to the expiration, I'm going to take the value that remains here in my long calls. I will reinvest to buy more time and to buy more position, so that I can then sell another sucker, another $30,000 or whatever worth of this. Either way, though, what that's going to do is it's going to reduce my net cost of the position. I'm going to buy 2 more years of time. I'm going to buy 2 more years I get to sell premium to somebody else. And that's exactly what a casino does, right? In a casino, they have a net advantage on the games. So statistically, as long as you keep playing, they'll eventually get you. Now, to make better statistics for themselves, they don't want one person playing a game, because in one person, you can win, you could lose, you can go on a streak, they can get hurt. But if thousands of people are playing at the same time, then most people will lose. Some people will win. Those people win and go and tell everybody else to come to your casino because you won a lot of money. So that's great. They don't even mind when you win, generally. And they're always going to get their percentage of them. That's the point. That's what we do. We're always going to get our premium, no matter whether the person we sold the premium to wins or loses, we get the premium. So, you know, when you spin a roulette wheel that pays 35 to 1, right? When you win, you get 35 to 1. It's got 36 numbers on it, but it doesn't really. It's got 38 numbers on it because it has 0 and 00. So you're getting 35 to 1, but there's 38 numbers on the wheel. There's 3 numbers that you're not getting paid for. That's almost 10%. And you know what that means? It means every time they spin that wheel, you're losing 10%. It doesn't feel that, and it's 10% of whatever you have in play over time. But every time they spin that wheel, they're taking 10% from you. Even if you win 35, they still took 10%. They should have paid you 38. But they didn't. They paid you 35. And then if statistics hold out, you're going to lose 37 out of 38 times when you spin. So they want you to keep playing. They want you to play until you lose. And eventually, the idea of a casino, and this is the whole point of a casino, they've got way more money than you do. And that's why they have table limits, because they want to make sure they have more money than you do, right? So there's a limit to what you can win on a table. There's a limit to how much you can play on a table. And the casinos will stop you from playing. If you're winning too much money, they'll stop you from playing, or they'll haul you off and say, oh, you know what, it's time to have a great free dinner, and here's a free room, and here's a jet, go somewhere. You know, they'll do whatever it takes to get you off the tables. But what they want is more people to come in and just play and play and play. And over time, and this is proven by all these multi-billion-dollar casino businesses, over time, they win. You're not going to win in the long run. You can, as an individual, walk away at any given time with a huge win, but the total number of people playing are going to lose money. That is a virtual statistical guarantee. And that's what we do. We sell lots of people, a lot of premium, and sometimes they win and we end up paying out cash, and mostly they lose and we collect the premiums. And that is the entire concept of how we do this. And by doing that, we can make that 15, 20%, 30% even on a consistent basis. And if you consistently make 20, 30% a year, you are going to be rich. You're not going to be able to help yourself. But you got to put the time in, you've got to put the effort in, and you've got to move towards that goal constantly. And again, that's what we did here. That's what this portfolio is all about. And I really encourage anybody who's having trouble performing, anybody who's having trouble understanding what we do here. It's right there at the beginning of this thing, where I think it was here. It's right here. Here's what we've been doing for the last 10 months, for the last 9 months, and what we did today. Every move, every position, all the logic, all the trading things, and so on and so forth. And notice today we got a little more advanced. I did a couple of tricky things. Here's basic, and now we're getting a little bit more money. We're a little bit more advanced. And that's what happens with all our portfolios. We start out very conservative, and when we make some money, we take some chances. But reasonable chances, not crazy chances. Reasonable chances, like I bought these SoFi uncovered. And it went well, and it went well, and it went well. So we left it alone. We let it go do. And like I said, remember, it went up and then it went down, and now it's up again. Okay. Value-wise, though, I've never doubted that they were poorly valued. And now we're past this student loan crisis thing. It looks really good. But what did we do today? We covered part of it. Because we're not greedy. You can't be greedy. See what we said? We sold 3 calls to it's 7 long, so we sold 3 calls. We're not even half covered, about 40% covered, and we bought back the short puts to free up the buying power because they were already up 50%, so they weren't worth keeping. So we're locking in our gains here. That's what we're doing. We sold 3 calls to lock in our gains, and we'll sell 3. And if they go lower, we'll sell 3 more to take more money off the table. If they go higher, we're going to roll the short puts. Again, chess, right? I'm moving and moving. But what am I doing? I'm selling premium. I sold the 750 calls. They're at 780 for 165. We sold 135 in premium. That's huge. It's going to expire worthless. It's a fact. I guarantee it will expire worthless. We already hold I forget what the number is. We have the $3 calls. So we're deep in the money. We have the $3 calls, and we're selling the 750 calls. So we're guaranteed on those 3 a 450 spread. That's locked in. Whoops. Oh, we don't have the SoFi chart. Wait, here it is. So we sold the 750 calls. So at worst, I'm going to make 450 on my 3, right? But I have 4 others that are still uncovered. So I can either roll the calls to higher strikes, even if I have to go from 3 to 6 or whatever, I'm still fully covered, right? So I roll the calls to higher strikes. If it goes lower, I sell more calls and get another $500 back on my spread. And if it stays flat, also perfect. So flat is perfect, up is perfect, and down, I sell 500 more. And let me see what I spent on the spread in the first place. We spent $2,000. So now I'm going to, yeah, but we spent net $2,000. We're going to bring the net down to $1,500. We did bring the net down to $1,500 by selling these calls. If I sell another set of calls for another $500, what happens to my net? My net becomes $500. And it's a 450 spread times 7 is like $3,000. So I'm locking in my gains. I'm making sure I'm covered. I'm making sure that these gains don't evaporate on me. And look at all the flexibility. If it's up, I know what to do. If it's flat, I know what to do. If it's down, I know what to do. In all three ways, I see a path to making money. That's a good position. It started off though, and again, we're in this great position because we started off by spending only $323 for these calls, and now they're $515 because we were right. We took a chance, we were right. If it was wrong, we had a backup plan and a backup plan. But we were right and it worked out. Now that it's worked out, I have the flexibility to start really pulling in cash off this position. Now it's going to be a big money maker. Now I can cover it, make sure I lock in my gains, and make even more money going forward. I'm turning what was going to be a small gain position into a monster. And when you get lucky, you have to learn how to take advantage of it and turn it into something great. That's part of this also, but it goes the same thing. Discipline, review, pay attention to what you're doing, always look at different ways. You always look at all the different ways you can take something and do something with it. And hopefully as you play this along, you'll get more and more comfortable with the trickier concepts. It's just like getting better at chess. It's just like anything. Work with it, pay attention, and you'll get good at this and you'll learn how to do it. And it's, I don't know. I mean, it's really, you make more money investing than you will working. That's almost, if you do it right, it's almost a sure thing that you will make more money investing than you do working over the course of your life. But that's only if you do it properly. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Have a really great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. All right. Take care. Oh, it's going to be Juneteenth. Wait, when's Juneteenth? No, not next week. It's a week after that. There's a holiday. All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.